Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Adjacent to History, the podcast that brings you, the listener, right up next to the biggest moments in history. I'm your host, Rory McBain, a history professor at State University of New York at New Paltz, and the author of such books as The Best of History and History Ranked, the 10 Greatest Centuries. Now, I am joined on this journey we'll be taking with the inventor of this incredible technology that allows us to listen in on history, Dr. J. John Johnson.
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry.
I'm not a doctor.
He's not a doctor. I apologize. I made that mistake before. Mr. J. John Johnson, the inventor of our incredible invention that we're using in this podcast. Now, we'll get to Dr. Mr. Johnson in just a second.
Or John. John is fine.
But I just wanted to say that with this podcast, what we hope to do is to correct any mistakes in history, confirm any truths in history, and maybe discover new things in history. That's right. We'll be standing in the room with some of the biggest figures in the history of the world. Please, Mr. Johnson, explain this technology.
I can explain it in a way that a person of average intelligence and abilities could understand and even carry out.
All right, but we're trying to appeal to a mass audience, so we're not considering intelligence.
With a podcast about science and history? Great. Okay,
well, would you like to describe the technology?
What we're dealing with in layman's terms is a radio telescope, which is just what it sounds like. It beams out into space. It can pick up sounds, and we take a listen. And sometimes we get something spectacular, and sometimes we just miss the mark.
Well, I'm sure we can edit that part out. You probably shouldn't say that we'll miss the mark.
No, but we can miss the mark. I mean, that's science.
Well, that's not what we're not planning. Well, as far as I know, science is not missing the mark. Science is getting things right.
Science is all about missing the mark.
Well, we won't be sharing the errors, I don't think. That would be a mistake.
Well, then this is going to be a pretty fucking short podcast.
Okay, well, maybe this. Why don't we just cool off for a second and take a moment for a word from our sponsor, Mr. Johnson and Johnson Products, not Johnson & Johnson Products.
Yeah, you should be more careful with your words.
Are aggressive beavers building dams in the river or stream you currently live in? Don't be beaver beaten. Take action. Trapping beavers is complicated and unmanly, and it may be illegal. Instead, use Mr. Johnson's Beaver Poison. Mr. Johnson's Beaver Poison comes in convenient 10 suppository packs, enough to wipe out the whole damn colony. Simply subdue the beaver, insert the glycerin suppository, and watch the rodent question its every life decision as the light of life dims from its beady eyes. Mr. Johnson's Beaver Poison is ranked excellent by the American Association of Beaver Poisoners. Mr. Johnson's Beaver Poison, available at your local post office.
Mr. Johnson's Family Products.
Well, welcome back. In our previous segment, we introduced you to myself, the host, Rory McBain, and of course, Mr. J. John Johnson.
John is fine.
Okay, the inventor of the technology, which I am calling colloquially Mr. Johnson's time machine. I know it is not a time machine, but I think it explains what we're going to be doing on this podcast. And why don't we actually get to some of the amazing results of your technology?
To the point, Rory, please.
Yes. Well, here it is, folks. I have chosen for the first demonstration of this technology for you listeners.
Well, this isn't the first demonstration. I've used
for the
this
listeners,
technology.
Obviously. If you weren't,
okay.
Did you listen? We talked about the kind of back and forth that the host and co-host will have.
Co-host. Now I'm a co-host. Okay, thank you. Earlier, I thought you called me the guy who's going to chime in. That's what you said before the break.
Well,
you go back and listen to it.
Yes. The one thing I know is you're not a doctor, apparently. But moving on. The moment that I've chosen, I think, is one familiar to any of our American listeners, certainly. One of the great moments in American history. Something that we've all read about, heard about, and now we can actually not read about or hear about, but we can actually hear. I'm talking, of course, about the Gettysburg Address, Abraham Lincoln's very famous speech, a short speech given on a battlefield on the afternoon of November 19, 1863. After a great battle, today it's a historic monument. You can go there, and our podcast might be doing a tour there at some point if we can get all that together.
As long as I can do it remotely, we're in.
Yeah, okay. Well, don't please, try not to disparage the product, of course. But now I'd like us to go to the Gettysburg Address. And folks, we're going to actually hear the voice of Abraham Lincoln delivering perhaps his most famous speech. Go ahead, Doctor.
You can just call me John.
Great.
And you really should have given me a signal or something to start dialing.
Well, I was
in while
talking.
you
I
were
thought
talking.
maybe as I was
But I
vamping and
didn't-
giving the date, you could dial in on that.
No, I didn't know.
All right, let's listen.
Oh, that was horrible.
Oh, Mr. President, you did great.
I
You did a
wasn't
great
feeling
job.
it.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't have guessed that. You seemed on your game up there.
Oh, it's so verbose. I said 7 years ago. I could have just said 87.
Well, yes. I mean, we talked about this, and you decided that it was impactful. Don't make excuses for it. Don't apologize for yourself. Just own it. We've talked about if you wanted to run this for me first so
Yeah.
that you can hear that stuff out loud. That can be really helpful. And you didn't, and maybe next time you will.
Well,
Yeah.
That's a learning.
That's a
moment.
learning experience. Okay, so next time let's just workshop this a little before going live.
I do it again somewhere else. I mean, nobody knows where Gettysburg is anyways. Let's do it in Harrisburg
But I can check the calendar and see if we can work that in.
or Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we can take this thing to any number of burgs.
Great.
We can just tweak it a little bit.
All right. I don't want to do it in Philadelphia.
That's fine.
It's too much pressure.
That's fine. Hey, listen. What about self-care?
What about it?
You seem run down. You can't do your best work
I'm
if you're
exhausted.
not
Our
taking
country's
care
fighting
of
each other.
you. I know, but
Okay.
take some time.
Well-
Just take some time for you.
I know. If I had a cucumber, I'd put it right over my eyes.
Why?
Wow.
Yes!
Well, it was, so close to the actual speech.
I know! Can you believe it?
Imagine if we had been able to just get a little earlier, just a few minutes. Okay.
We didn't get somewhere in Pennsylvania in 1860. Whoop.
I know, but we know where he gave the, it's the Gettysburg Address. That part shouldn't be difficult at all. Let's talk about what we heard, I guess.
Okay, we heard Abraham fucking Lincoln talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
yes.
night. Good night. We fucking nailed it.
Well, there were some revelations in there. I don't know that there's any historical evidence that he took this speech on the road, but I guess there was talk of that. That was interesting, I guess. Again, just to hear, what the reaction would have been like to the speech. But again, you
heard it at the very beginning. I can play it for you again if you'd like.
Oh, we recorded. Oh, good. That's good that you got a hold
there's
of that.
like a smattering of applause
Okay.
and a few horses shitting. But who cares? I mean, I just imagine Abraham fucking Lincoln's tall, bony ass and heard him speaking.
Yeah. And he apparently, the cucumber thing, do you think he was the inventor of the cucumbers over the eyes? Was this something, that's a bit of a historical find, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose if you're a desperate historian who's looking for some historical
Well, you know what I was looking
point
for? I was
to
looking
what-
for the speech, is what I was looking for. And I didn't get the speech. And
We all know the speech.
I know, but I would have. Okay.
Nobody but you and I and Abe Lincoln and that dead broad he was talking to know about what we just heard.
You know what? I'm not going to deny that. But next time, let's just try to get on what we ask for.
Well, I'm trying. That's what I said. This is you fucking people.
Moving on. How about this? Since you can't really let's just go for more general. I'm interested, as a historian, in the French Revolution.
Okay. Where specifically?
And
dates, times.
Very good, very good. Because the French Revolution, of course, it took place over a great period of time, and it ended up with the end of the French, really the aristocracy, but of course the royal family and everything. So what I would like to hear actually is early days. Perhaps Versailles. It has been widely speculated that Marie Antoinette never really said, let them eat cake. That's been attributed to her. But maybe I don't want to ask for anything specific because you seem to get angry when you couldn't do it before.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh, wow. Okay. I have it here already.
Versailles
I'm
and
ready.
the
Yes,
years
I got it.
1787. Let's go maybe 1788.
Okay.
Early.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
I didn't want to get, okay.
Be quiet. Here we go.
Let's listen in to, I believe, if we get what we asked for, this is the Palace of Versailles. This is before
You have to stop talking. You have to stop talking
French Revolution,
so you can hear.
1787.
I am thinking that perhaps we should throw a little bit of a party fete, if you will.
Fête?
Une fête.
We just had a fit last week.
Maybe this time we can invite 1 or 10 or 20 of the people who are poor and show them how rich we are.
Well,
And then they will see it is so good that we live so happy, and they can go back and they can tell all the other pauvres that we are so happy.
ooh, I have a fun party game.
Yes.
Pin the tail on the poorest.
Oh, this is a bonne idée. We can ask each one of them at the party, excuse me, how much money do you have?
Oh, why ask questions? We just, we weigh them.
Oui, oui.
We weigh them.
Oh, this is smart, yes, because most of them sew their money into their clothes, I believe. Because
Really?
if
Well,
they
that's
have
where
it-
they put it. We have no bank.
I don't know if they... Maybe they keep it in their donkey bin or something.
And we have
You-
no money.
No.
So we can't do that. They have to bring their own potato.
Impossible. Bring your own food. And then what we can do is perhaps we can put together a little outdoor fire and they can cook it there.
Yeah, fire with a big pot of boiling lard.
Perfect.
And stick potato in there, the fries as you eat it.
Yes, and if they don't like it, then we say you get into the fire, you get into the lard. Don't ever speak back to me, and you will eat exactly what we tell you to eat, you piece of shit.
I think we should start the party that way.
Well, what?
Okay, wow. All right. Well, that was, you know what? I gotta give it to you right there. Getting King Louis and Marie Antoinette.
I mean, I think so. I don't know how we would verify that that's who they are.
Well,
Nobody
it was
knows what they sound.
Versailles, so right. I guess it's a big castle, but
I mean, it certainly sounded, because I cannot, with any scientific accuracy, tell you whether or not I was perfect.
since you got the Gettysburg one off, why don't we assume this one you got right?
Yeah, that's.
you.
I think it was Einstein that said, "Fuck it, let's just assume."
Well, I don't think he said
No,
that.
of course not.
Well, let's
It's
talk about what we
idiotic
were
thing.
able to
Okay.
hear and get there. That was quite interesting. I don't know that there's any historical record of the royals throwing a party for the poor, but certainly it seemed as if there was a bit of resentment maybe in the voice towards the poor.
I would say the most surprising thing to me was the sound of the firing squad in the background.
Is that what you think those were?
I am absolutely positive.
I didn't know if those were, if they were hunting on the grounds.
I don't
there.
think that anyone hunts with a barrage of gunfire at intervals just long enough to clean up dead bodies and stand up new live ones.
I guess everybody takes something different out of there.
Yeah, I would imagine that's true.
You know what, doctor? That was a good job.
I'm not
that
a
one.
doctor.
Well,
It's
Mr.
not fucking hard
Yes.
to remember. I don't
You know
understand
what? It's just
why.
the science. I would expect someone of your status to have just, gotten a doctorate, I suppose.
I did get a doctorate.
Well, then why? So what? Were you?
Is that what this podcast is about now? Do
Were
we
you-
want to? Do
were
we want to
you-
use my machine to listen to my past? I'd rather not.
Wow. Well, that's an interesting idea for maybe a further episode down the road. I got a question.
If you think there's going to be more than one of these, you've been kicked in the head.
Well, you signed a contract, I believe, if we can get that far. I got a question, doctor. How far back can we go with this stuff? I mean, can we get prehistoric? Can we discover Stonehenge?
I mean,
That's been a mystery. Can we get there and figure out what that's all
Stonehenge. Okay, so we're talking what?
about?
How far back is that?
It's there's estimates. It's 3,000 BC, maybe
okay, yeah.
2,000 BC. Why don't we go 2,500 BC?
2500 BC, and we're talking southern
It's
England.
Stonehenge.
I'm not
Just
sure
put Stonehenge.
where. It's coordinates. I can't just put a
Well,
word in.
You can't
No.
MapQuest or line it up with G. Well, Stonehenge is where Stonehenge is. I think. I mean,
Southern England. I've got it.
it's
I've
on
got it. I've got
Salisbury
it. Shh,
Plain.
Be quiet.
I'm
I've got it.
folks. What we're listening to, what we're about to listen to, apparently, is the Stonehenge monument. If we've gotten our coordinates correct and everything, we may gain some insight into why this monument was built, who built it, and what it was used for. All right, go right ahead.
Time doesn't have a fucking pause button.
You're gonna drag that stone how far?
To the other one. Can you not see where it goes?
I can see where it goes. What I can't see is why. Why does it go?
It's in me family. We've always been the ones to erect the stone. It's my turn to do an erection.
That's what I'm saying.
You've always been against my erection.
I'm very pro your erections.
I wish that bloody hill were as wet and wanting for my erection as your happy gash.
Well, what is it today then? Are you gonna drag that stone, or are you gonna shag this lass? I've got to show you something. Come, hide behind this giant stone here. Look at this. It's a wand. It's a magic wand.
Yeah, all right.
Come see.
Have you been in the bottle?
No, I haven't been in the bottle.
Okay.
I have had a few mushrooms, though. You've got to try them. Come on, come look. I waved my wand. And look, this mushroom circle appeared. You know what it is? It's a fairy circle. It's where all the fairies gather.
All right. I'm taking the wand until you come down. That wand, why does it vibrate?
That's for later.
Wow. Insightful.
Yeah, I suppose you could say insightful. I mean,
guess-
it certainly incites certain feelings.
Some things never change, I suppose, huh? They're just like us.
As a scientist, entirely baffled. There's no way that one human could have drugged one of those stones.
Well, I mean, we heard it.
I'm going to take an L on this. There's no way that was accurate. That was something else. That
Sounded
was...
pretty accurate to me. Seems like Stonehenge was like a family project, and it took so long because, family issues, I suppose. Okay, well,
it's just a little disheartening is all.
I was actually heartened, if such a thing could be.
I don't think that's a word.
Well, you know what? We're just discovering this technology, Doctor.
We're not discovering the technology.
No,
I
but-
invented the
Yes,
technology.
But what I meant is...
And I'm not a fucking doctor.
No, you're not. I want to thank you, the listeners, for being here with us on this journey as we sit adjacent to history using Mr. Johnson's time machine, which isn't a time machine.
Time machine. Goddamn.
We will continue to explore our world and the history of it. And before we go, I'd like to thank, of course, our sponsor, Mr. Johnson's products, all of the products in the Mr. Johnson's line, Mr. Johnson's Beaver Poison, Mr. Johnson's Baby Taser, okay, and Mr. Johnson's Squirrel Polish, and many other products.
All Mr. Johnson products available at your local post office. Thank you, Postmaster DeJoy. Mr. Johnson would like to extend a special thank you to all our participating consultants: Frank Caetti, Molly Erdman, Megan Grano, Martin Garcia, Rich and Rebecca Sohn, and Eddie Furman.
Mr. Johnson's family products.